So last week, as I stated, A Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past was my first real experience at a franchise. But after I had finished recording the lines for that video, it dawned on me that it might have been my introduction to the Zelda series, but it wasn't actually my first Zelda-esque game. Nope, that honor actually has to go towards a little Capcom/Disney title called Goof Troop. I did rent this game once back in the day when I was really little. I barely even remembered anything about the game until I looked it up again, but I do know this was a rental for me once. And why did I decide to rent it? Because I fucking adored the Goofy movie. Hell, I still enjoy it from time to time. And I did enjoy the show the game was based off of through the couple VHS tapes I used to have. So as a kid, that case on the shelf definitely stood out at Blockbuster. So let's just get right into it. The game stars Goofy and his son Max as they go on a father and son fishing trip out onto the sea. Later that day, they notice a huge pirate ship approaching their town Spoonerville and have kidnapped Pete and his son PJ. So Goofy and Max try to chase after the pirates in an attempt to rescue Pete and his son, but unfortunately shipwreck on the pirate's island. Yeah, very good parenting, eh, Goof? Put your kid into danger who will probably be captured and sold for meat or something. Ooh, fuck, that kinda got a little dark. But anyway, the father and son duo decide to investigate the island and do everything they can to save their friends. So yeah, typical Saturday morning cartoon stuff, and for a game like this, it's pretty expected. Nothing fancy, just something to set up the game and theming. Which, hey, always a highlight when the game decides to go the pirate route. So Goof Troop is broken up into 5 stages that can range from the beach, underground caverns, a haunted castle, and of course the pirate ship itself. The goal is to try and progress through these levels by solving puzzles and defeating enemies by different means, whether it's through the environment, or items you can pick up and throw at them like barrels and bombs. As you can tell from the footage, this is straight up the same blueprints as Link to the Past. It's an overhead view, you're trying to solve puzzles and figure out what you're supposed to do next, whether it's by the environment itself or items you acquire. Just the main difference is where A Link to the Past has this huge world and vast playground to explore in, Goof Troop on the other hand is segregated into 5 levels and contained where there isn't any overlap. In many ways, it's basically just cutting out the overworld and just focusing entirely on the dungeons in this game, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, since dungeons in Zelda games are usually meant to be the best part about those titles. But there's no denying that without a huge world to explore, it does make Goof Troop feel a hell of a lot smaller in scope. But it does do enough things differently to stand out from its more beloved competition. First off, and obviously the biggest addition, Goof Troop introduces the ability to play with a friend. Both Goofy and Max can do the exact same things as each other, but I do appreciate that they did give these two differences. Max can run a lot faster than his old man, but Goofy on the other hand is a lot stronger when it comes to dealing with enemies, where Max might struggle a bit more with the beefier moves. Co-op is pretty much Goof Troop's defining feature. Being able to play a Zelda game with a friend is easily the best part about this game, as it can lead to some good laughs, and can be fun working together. Which, unfortunately, I think Goof Troop relies a little too much on, cause for someone to play this by themselves, you're probably not going to get much out of it as this is a very easy game. A couple block puzzles might stump you, but that's about it. And I mean, combat is pretty much non-existent. Outside of maybe stunning enemies with the hookshot if you have it, there's no natural attacking in this game, so you have to rely on throwing items to take out any threats. This can lead to feeling really basic, and in a lot of ways you're better off just to avoid enemies if ever possible. Though that's not an option that comes to you often. Plus, Max and Goofy are very fragile. You'd think those hearts are for health, but that's more just a meter for 1-ups. Sure, it'll protect you from maybe one hit, but that's about it. The main idea is to fill it up and you'll get an extra life. Thankfully, this life mechanic is skewed towards easy, than it is obnoxiously difficult. One-hit kills could have been a major problem, I'm just glad that's not the case here. No, probably the only time you ever really die is maybe at the bosses, otherwise it's because you weren't paying attention or they just managed to corner you. Now, I know some people would probably shit on this game for being too easy for the majority of it, and while I am someone who does enjoy a proper challenge to get that fulfilling feeling, it doesn't mean I'm against easier games like this as I feel they have their place. Goof Troop to me is the perfect example of that gateway game, that kind of game that lets players get their feet wet without feeling overwhelmed. As much as I adore games like Super Metroid or A Link to the Past, I can acknowledge that they can be potentially intimidating or overwhelming for a player if they feel unsure about dedicating time or money to something that they may or may not enjoy. So when we do have games like this come around, it's a great middle ground, especially back then when you could just rent it. And if you like it, well, word of mouth usually led you to the more fulfilling experiences, and that's never a bad thing in my opinion. Also, this game has the benefit of being a great cooperative title to play with, say, something like a little brother or sister, your kid, or even your spouse if they aren't big on gaming but want to play too. Goof Troop is a great title for that since it gives them something to play, and with you probably being more experienced, you can be a good guide so that they are enjoying themselves too. And thankfully for what it is, Goof Troop is a pleasing game on the eyes and ears too, and is fairly polished thanks to Capcom being the developer behind it. Goof Troop might not be that grand epic experience that hardcore gamers are looking for, but if you want something a bit more chill and intimate with co-op, then I definitely recommend it.